At family brunch, I mentioned, "Can't wait for our beach trip next week." My brother laughed. "Oh, you thought you were invited?" My mom smiled. "It's more of a family-only thing." I just nodded and left. A week later, they arrived at the resort and found their rooms cancelled. The group chat blew up with all caps messages. Then my sister called, screaming my name. The worst part wasn't that they excluded me. It was that they planned the entire beach trip with my help, using my contacts, my booking account, and most importantly, my money. I had found the resort, negotiated a group rate, secured the rooms, and even sent them an itinerary with all the little extras they'd enjoy. Every time a decision needed to be made, they came to me. I thought we were working on it together, as a family. But a week before we were supposed to leave, they decided to tell me it was going to be family only. That single moment changed something in me. For years, I'd been the one who smoothed things over, the one who picked up the slack, the one who kept quiet when they took advantage. But as I sat there at that brunch table, realizing they'd used me for months just to cut me out at the last minute, I stopped seeing them the same way. I stopped making excuses for them. And I stopped being the one who kept the peace. The brunch had all the usual chaos. My mom's kitchen was crowded, everyone talking over each other, the smell of bacon filling the air. James was telling some story about work, Emily was scrolling through her phone, and my uncle was trying to get a second cup of coffee before the pot was empty. I waited until there was a break in the noise and mentioned how much I couldn't wait for our beach trip next week. I even smiled when I said it, expecting someone to chime in about how nice it would be to finally relax. James was the first to respond. He leaned back, grinning like he'd just been handed a punchline. "Oh, you thought you were invited?" It hit me like a cold slap, but before I could process it, Mom added her piece. "It's more of a family-only thing this time, Michael." Family only? As if I was some outsider they'd been humoring up until now. No mention of the fact that I had made the whole trip possible. No hint of embarrassment over how blatantly they'd used me. I didn't bother to argue. Arguing never worked with them. It just gave them more time to twist the narrative until I was the one who looked unreasonable. So I set my fork down, got up, and left. I heard someone call my name as I stepped out the door, but I kept walking. I didn't owe them an explanation. By the time I reached my car, my hands were steady. I wasn't angry in the usual way. I was done. Completely done. And in that clarity, I knew exactly what I was going to do next. The drive home from brunch was one of those quiet ones where you can hear your own heartbeat. My phone was in the cup holder, buzzing every now and then with group chat notifications. I didn't bother looking. I already knew what they'd be about, the fun, planning, the menu ideas for the beach house dinners, maybe Emily sharing swimsuit links or James joking about who'd get the best tan. They had no idea I'd left that brunch with a very different kind of plan. I didn't even change clothes when I got home. I sat down at my desk, opened my laptop, and pulled up the resort confirmation email. Seeing it there in black and white, my name, my card, my email as the point of contact, made the shift in my mind final. All those months of calls, emails, and little details that they brushed off as nothing, they were all me. And now, they were mine to control. Canceling everything right away would have been too easy. Too clean. They'd just shrug, book another place, and laugh about how Michael lost his temper again. No, I wanted this to sting. I wanted them to walk into that lobby believing everything was perfect, the same way I'd sat at that table believing we were all in this together. And then, at the last possible moment, I wanted that belief ripped away from them. I started by calling the resort directly. The woman at the front desk transferred me to the reservations manager, a cheerful-sounding lady named Claire. I told her there'd been a small mix-up with the dates. The group would actually be arriving 3 days later than originally planned. I spun a whole polite story about delayed flights and needing to push the check-in. She said it was no problem at all. The rooms would be held for the new date, and if the group showed up earlier, they'd have to find other arrangements. She even apologized for any inconvenience this might cause your family. Perfect. But I wasn't finished. I knew James would be the one to handle things when they got there. He loved trying to play the hero, so I made sure there'd be just enough confusion to make him look powerless. I emailed the resort confirming the new dates, but I also told them to keep the original confirmation number active in the system. That way, when my family tried to check in, the staff would think it was just a misunderstanding, not a cancelled booking. That limbo was important. It would draw the scene out and keep the frustration simmering. Next, I muted the family group chat. I didn't leave it. I wanted to see the messages later, to read every frantic word when the disaster hit. But I didn't want to hear them in the meantime. Silence felt good. It felt like control. That night, I went one step further. I called a small, slightly rundown motel about 15 minutes from the resort, the kind of place with buzzing neon lights and air conditioners that sound like jet engines. I booked one room in my mom's name, prepaid and non-refundable. Just one. Not enough for everyone. And I left no instructions on who it was for or how it should be split. I knew they'd end up there eventually, crammed together, miserable, and blaming each other. When I finally closed my laptop, it was past midnight. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the one they could step on. I felt steady. And I knew this wasn't just revenge. It was my way of showing them what I'd been worth all along, by letting them see what it felt like without me. The morning of their check-in, I woke up earlier than usual. No alarm, no rush, just the kind of early rise you get when you know something interesting is about to happen. I made coffee slowly, taking my time, scrolling through the news on my phone. Outside, it was overcast, but I imagined the weather at the coast was perfect. By then, they'd be loading their bags into the cars, laughing, maybe playing music. I pictured James behind the wheel of Mom's SUV, acting like he'd coordinated this whole trip. Mom in the passenger seat, clutching the printed reservation I'd emailed months ago, the one with my name on it, probably without even noticing. Emily would be in the back, feet up on the seat, scrolling through Instagram, probably posting some road trip story with palm tree emojis. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Around 9:45, my phone lit up with the first group chat notification. I didn't open it. I let it sit there. 5 minutes later, another. Then another. By 10:30, I had 8 unread messages, which told me they'd arrived earlier than planned. I imagined the scene in the lobby, the polished floor, the big ocean mural behind the front desk, a couple of tired travelers in line, and my family right in the middle of it, smiles fading as the clerk politely explained there was no room for them until later in the week. I finally opened the chat. James, bro, what's going on? Mom, they say we can't check in until Friday. Michael, please tell me this is a mistake. Emily, this is so embarrassing. We've been standing here for 20 minutes, and they're telling us they have nothing available for tonight. Then came the caps lock. James, call me right now. MOM, fix this now. Emily, this is insane. We have all our stuff and nowhere to go. My phone started buzzing with James's name. I ignored it. A minute later, it was Mom. Ignored again. Then Emily. I let it ring twice before answering. The background noise was pure chaos, voices overlapping, a baby crying, someone slamming something down. Michael, what the hell? They're saying you changed the booking dates. We have the kids, all our stuff, and nowhere to go sleep. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't explain. I just said, oh, you thought you were invited? Silence. 10 seconds of it. Then the click of the line going dead. I put the phone down, feeling, not triumphant exactly, but settled. This was the first time in years I wasn't the one scrambling to fix their mess. I imagined them turning on each other immediately, James blaming Mom for not confirming, Mom blaming James for not double-checking, Emily muttering about how this would never happen if Michael had just booked it like usual. And the best part? This was just the start. Because while they were still arguing in the resort lobby, they had no idea what their next accommodation looked like, and I'd made sure it would test every ounce of their patience. By the time they left the resort, the chat had gone silent for almost an hour. That wasn't a good sign for them. Silence usually meant they were in problem-solving mode, heads bent over their phones, trying to find a quick fix. I could picture it, Mom in the passenger seat frantically calling hotels, James driving with that clipped tone he uses when he's stressed but doesn't want to admit it, Emily sighing in the back seat and muttering about how this would never happen if Michael handled it. They didn't know it yet, but they were headed straight for the Seaview Inn, or rather, the _Eve_UI_N, because half the neon sign hadn't worked in years. I'd prepaid for a single room there in Mom's name, no cancellation, no refund. Not nearly enough space for all of them. The first messages hit when they pulled in. Emily, what is this place? James, there's one bed. Mom, we can't stay here, Michael. I'll get us something else. Then came a picture. Emily had snapped the front of the building. The siding was sun-bleached and peeling, the curtains yellowed from years of cigarette smoke. I zoomed in and spotted a cat stretched out on the hood of someone's car, lazily licking its paw like it owned the place. But then something I hadn't planned happened. When they went inside to check in, the desk clerk, an older man with a permanent sunburn and a cigarette tucked behind his ear, told them the room wasn't ready. The cleaning crew was running late, though I doubted there even was a crew. Mom tried to push him, saying they had kids who needed somewhere to rest. He didn't budge. When she raised her voice, he threatened to call the police. James had to pull her outside before it escalated. So they sat in the parking lot, sweating in the afternoon heat, perched on their suitcases like they were waiting for a bus. And as if things couldn't get worse, they did. A tour bus rolled in and unloaded about 40 college kids. Backpackers on a cheap summer trip. Loud, barefoot, already cracking open beers before they'd even gotten their room keys. Suddenly, the little strip of gravel lot was packed with people dragging coolers and blasting music from portable speakers. By the time my family finally got into their room, their new neighbors were having a pre-party in the hallway. Thin walls meant every shout and every thump of bass seeped right through. But the real twist came a few hours later. The motel's water went out. A burst pipe behind the building, according to the clerk, and no repairs until maybe tomorrow. No showers. No flushing toilets. Nothing. The group chat exploded again. Emily, I can't do this. Mom, Michael, you're being cruel. This isn't funny anymore. James, we're leaving tomorrow. Then, the final cherry on top, Emily's text, a cockroach just crawled across my pillow. I put my phone face down on the counter and let them deal with it. Somewhere out there, my family was crammed together in a sweltering motel room with no water, no privacy, and an endless stream of noise pouring in from the hallway. And I, for the first time in years, wasn't part of their problem. By the second night, I could tell the strain was taking its toll. The group chat wasn't even aimed at me anymore, they'd turned on each other. James, you're the one who said we should stay here instead of driving back home. Mom, because someone didn't plan ahead like Michael always does. Emily, are you seriously fighting? I'm on the floor next to the bathroom, and there's something moving in the carpet. Hours passed like that. Little bursts of bitterness, passive-aggressive comments, and the occasional blurry photo to prove how miserable they were. A shot of an overflowing trash can in the hallway, a towel stained with something unidentifiable, the corner of the ceiling where water stains had spread into jagged shapes. Then, sometime after 8 p.m., Emily sent a video. It was shaky, filmed from the floor where she was lying down, but I could see James standing over her, gesturing angrily toward Mom, who was sitting on the bed with her arms crossed. The muffled shouting was impossible to ignore. James was blaming her for not confirming the dates. Mom was snapping back that she wasn't the one who changed them, and Emily just kept muttering that they should have gone home yesterday. I hadn't spoken to them since Emily hung up on me at the resort. But now, I decided to take things one step further. I called the motel. The same desk clerk answered, the one with the gravelly voice and the cigarette cough. I told him I needed to cancel the room for tomorrow night. He said I couldn't because it was under someone else's name. I told him I had the payment information. When I rattled off the exact card number I'd used, there was a pause. Then he said, "All right, done." No warning for them. No explanation. Just a countdown to checkout time. The next morning, they were told they had to be out by 11. The messages poured in. Mom, what did you do? James, this is low even for you. Emily, seriously? I didn't answer. And then came something I hadn't planned for. A storm rolled in off the coast. Heavy rain, wind bending palm trees sideways, thunder rattling the windows. Every hotel they called said the same thing, fully booked. They tried to wait it out in their car, but the storm only got worse. James suggested driving inland, but Mom didn't want to spend hours on the road in that weather. Emily wanted to just go home. Arguments flared again, louder this time, and I could picture each face. The frustration, the exhaustion, the way every small inconvenience suddenly felt like proof of some bigger betrayal. By mid-afternoon, they gave up and headed back home. The chat went dead for the rest of the evening. It was just before midnight when a single message appeared from Mom, "We need to talk." I didn't open it. I closed the chat, turned off my phone, and went to bed. For the first time in years, I slept without that familiar knot in my stomach, The one that always came from trying to fix everyone else's mistakes. This time, the disaster wasn't mine to own. 2 days passed before I saw them in person. Mom texted twice more, James once, and Emily not at all. I didn't reply to any of them. Then, on Wednesday evening, there was a knock at my door. I knew before opening it who it would be. James stood there, arms crossed, his expression somewhere between frustration and exhaustion. Behind him, Mom hovered on the porch, holding an umbrella even though it wasn't raining. Emily stayed in the car, her face turned toward the window. James started talking before I even invited them in. "We need to put this behind us. You made your point." I didn't say anything, just let them inside. Mom glanced around my living room like she hadn't been there in years. She sat on the edge of the couch, smoothing the fabric of her jacket, and said they were ready to move forward, if I was. But the thing was, I wasn't. I told them I'd listened to what they said at brunch, really listened, and I believed them. If this trip was family only, then maybe I wasn't family in the way they meant. And if that was the case, it was probably better to stop pretending otherwise. They didn't like hearing that. Mom tried to insist that I'd taken it the wrong way, that it was just poor wording. James jumped in, saying they didn't think I'd want to come after all. I let them talk, let the excuses pile up, until they finally stopped. Then I told them I was done making their plans work, done fixing their mistakes, done being the safety net they didn't even acknowledge. Mom looked like she wanted to argue, but instead she just stood, muttered something about thinking this over, and headed for the door. James followed without another word. Through the window, I saw Emily glance up from the car. For a moment, we locked eyes. She didn't smile, didn't wave, just looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read, not anger, not guilt, but something in between. They drove away without saying goodbye. That night, the group chat stayed silent. But early the next morning, a notification popped up. It was from Emily. No text, no explanation, just a photo. A screenshot of a confirmation for a different resort booking, my name listed under guest. The date was 2 months away. No message followed it. I stared at it for a long time, wondering if it was some kind of peace offering, or a trap. Either way, I didn't respond. Not yet. First update. When Emily sent that screenshot 2 months ago, I didn't respond. Not a word. I didn't ask about it, didn't comment, didn't even like the message in the group chat. I wanted to see if they'd follow up. And they did. First it was James texting me, "You're coming, right?" No pressure. Which is exactly what someone says when they're applying pressure. Then Mom left a voicemail. Said they'd worked hard to include me this time, and that I should consider it a step toward rebuilding. I ignored them both. But about a week before the trip, curiosity got the better of me. I wasn't agreeing to go, at least that's what I told myself, but I wanted to know exactly what they'd booked. So I called the resort. I gave them the confirmation number from Emily's screenshot and asked for details. The woman on the line typed for a moment, then said, "Yes, we have you in an oceanfront king suite for the full week. Just you." I asked about the rest of my party. She checked again. No other bookings under my last name. No group reservations that matched the dates. No adjoining rooms. Nothing. I hung up, sat back, and stared at my phone. This wasn't a family trip. Either they'd booked me a solo room as some sort of guilt gift, or they weren't going at all. And if they weren't, then why send me the confirmation? That's when the second twist came. 3 days before the check-in date, a small padded envelope showed up at my door. No return address. Inside was a clear plastic sleeve holding a single resort keycard and a folded piece of paper. On the paper, in handwriting I immediately recognized as Emily's, was one line. "Just go. You'll understand." No explanation. No signature. Nothing else. I sat there for a long time, flipping the keycard over in my hand. My first instinct was to toss it in a drawer and forget about it. But the more I thought about it, the more it gnawed at me. If this was another setup, I'd be walking right into it. If it wasn't, then what was I walking into? The trip starts in 2 days. And for reasons I can't even fully explain, I've already started packing a bag. I drove to the resort without telling anyone. No texts, no calls, no warning. If this was a trap, I wanted the element of surprise on my side. The weather was perfect, bright blue sky, warm breeze off the ocean. The kind of day that would make most people relax. I couldn't. My stomach had been tight the entire drive, and the key card Emily sent sat in the cup holder like it was burning a hole through the plastic. The lobby was quiet when I walked in. A smiling receptionist greeted me by name before I even handed over my ID. She said my room was ready and that the rest of your group had already arrived. That stopped me cold. I hadn't told her I was meeting anyone. I asked her to clarify. She leaned in and said, "They said to tell you they're waiting in the suite." My pulse jumped. I took the elevator to the top floor, the key card in my hand. The hallway smelled faintly of sunscreen and ocean air. I stopped at the door to my room, or our room, and slid the card in. The light turned green. When I opened the door, I expected to see my family. But it wasn't them. Inside, standing by the window with the curtains open wide, was Emily. Alone. On the table behind her were 2 glasses of champagne, already poured, and a folder stuffed with papers. She looked at me like she'd been waiting for this moment for weeks. "I didn't bring them," she said. "I brought you here to show you something." She slid the folder toward me. Inside were copies of emails, receipts, and bank statements, all showing years of charges for family trips that had quietly been billed to my account without my knowledge. Thousands of dollars. They'd been doing this since before the beach trip, she said. "I only found out because Mom asked me to help her with some online banking. I thought you should see it for yourself." I didn't say anything. I just kept flipping through page after page. And then she said the part that made me sit down. "I'm done with them, too." We spent the rest of the evening going through everything. By the time I left the resort the next day, I had more than enough proof to confront them, and if I wanted, to take it further. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. But when I do, it won't be another quiet lesson. After leaving the resort, I spent a week sitting on the evidence Emily had given me. Emails showing trips charged to my account without my consent. Resort bookings, car rentals, even grocery bills from vacations I wasn't on. It was worse than I thought. The pattern went back nearly 5 years. I knew if I confronted them directly, they'd deny it. They'd claim it was a mix-up or that I'd agreed to cover it, and just didn't remember. That was their specialty, rewriting history until it made them the victim. So I skipped the confrontation. Instead, I made an appointment with a lawyer. We went through every document, every transaction. It turned out I had more than enough to demand repayment, or take them to court. The lawyer even suggested the possibility of filing charges for fraud. A month later, they got the letters. Not a text, not a phone call, official, stamped envelopes from my attorney, demanding full reimbursement within 60 days or we proceed with legal action. That's when the group chat came alive again. "Mom, Michael, this is insane. We're family. James, you can't actually sue us." Emily left the chat. I didn't respond. 2 weeks in, James showed up at my door. He tried to play it off like I'd taken things too far, but when I asked if he wanted to discuss it with my lawyer present, he backed down. Mom called twice, leaving voicemails about how much this was hurting her. I saved them all without listening. At the 45-day mark, I got a payment in full. No apology, no explanation, just the money, wired directly into my account. I thought that would be the end of it. But last night, I got a text from Emily. Just one line. "They're planning something. Don't let your guard down." No details. No follow-up. So maybe this isn't over after all.